So today's lesson is number 15, graphing in vertex form. So graphing in vertex form is easy if you remember your transformations. So remember your A value can tell you if it's a stretch or compression. If it's a negative out front, then it's reflected across the x-axis, which means the parabola will be upside down. Your H, this minus H, tells us if it moves to the left or right. Right here, your K tells us if it moves up and down. So you can easily see what's going to happen to the graph if you remember those. So your vertex is always the values of H and K, not including that negative. That is a kind of a symbol that, remember how we said if it has a -2, it actually moves to the right 2. So it's kind of opposite when it's with the X value in parentheses or grouping symbols. So take a look at this. My vertex is going to be 2, 4. And my A value is 2. So again, that tells us, does it open upward, does it open downward, and things like that. Here, my vertex would be, it's the opposite of plus, so the vertex is a -3, -5. And my A value is a -4. And then if we look at number 3, so this one, my vertex is at 1, -2. So again, change the sign of the X value, keep the sign of the Y value. My A is a -1. So this one would be flipped or reflected across the x-axis. So again, there's no B or C in this formula. So we will not be using that formula for the axis of symmetry. You cannot. But you don't need to, because this is easy. It gives us the vertex. That's why it's called vertex form. When I look at this, I know automatically what the vertex is. So the key feature of A for this example is 2. And that's important because it tells us that the parabola will open upward. And because it opens upward, we know that our vertex is a minimum value. So let's skip down here because we've discussed it. We know that our vertex is 3, -4. And if you remember how we discussed at the beginning of the lesson yesterday, or on standard form, if I know the X value of my vertex, then I know that my axis of symmetry is the same thing. Okay, so let me start graphing this. I have my axis of symmetry at x equals 3. I have my vertex at 3, -4. Okay, I know that my parabola is going to open up, so I expect it to go that way. But I don't know any more points. So I can easily use a table if you would like. I have the vertex is at 3, -4, so I'm putting that in the center. And then I go count to the left 2 and 1, and to the right 4 and 5. So if I substitute these values into my equation, I have 2 times x minus 3 squared minus 4, and I'm going to go ahead and substitute the 2 first. So 2 minus 3 is -1. -1 squared is +1, and 1 times 2 is 2, minus 4 is -2. So when I substituted 2, I got -2 for my Y value. And what I like about that is that I can use my axis of symmetry. So if I graph 2, -2, one space on the opposite side of the axis of symmetry gives me another point. So if I use 1 minus 3 squared minus 4 equals, 1 minus 3 is -2 squared. -2 squared is 4, and 2 times 4 is 8. 8 minus 4 is 4. So I substituted 1 and I got 4. So if I go to 1, 4, that's my next point. And if I count 2 spaces to the other side of the axis of symmetry, then I've cut my work in half for getting that parabola. So what does it look like? It looks like this. So I think it would be a great idea if you paused and tried this one on your own and then check yourself after you've tried it. So for my A value, it's a -1, which tells me that my parabola will open downward. And since it opens in the downward direction, my vertex is a maximum value. My vertex is going to be a -5, 2, which tells me that my axis of symmetry is at x equals -5. So I go to -5. Here is my axis of symmetry. -5, 2 is my vertex, and I know that my parabola is going to open downward and go this way. So let me look at some more of those points. I'm going to put my vertex in the center of my table. And so I will pick a went the wrong way, -6 and a -7, or a -4 and a -3. So here's my function, -x plus 5 squared plus 2, and I will plug in a -4. It doesn't matter, I'm picking x values. Sometimes that's a little hard for you guys to grasp. So -4 plus 5 is 1. 1 squared is 1 with a negative in front. And -1 plus 2 is 1. So for -4, I got 1. -4, 1. If I use my axis of symmetry, there's my other point. Then I'm going to try -3. So -3 plus 5 is 2. 2 squared is 4 with a negative out front. -4 plus 2 is -2. So I got -2. Then -3, -2 is that point. And if I count 2 spaces to the other side, then I have my other point. So the graph of this parabola is this.